Hello, this is Mystic Brew. I don't think I give them any names, but I'm calling this one Boiling Frogs and the Butt Hurt News Corporations. Okay. The Boiling Frogs thing, I'm watching, what's going on. I was born and raised in the United States of America. And I'm 64 years of age. I have been voting since I'm 18. My very first vote was cast for McGovern. If I could take myself back in the time machine to that 8-year-old and vote again, and I was voting against Nixon, I might vote for Nixon knowing what I know these days. Again, now one of the interesting things when you have to pick people in political things is that you want to get the best bang for your vote. And so you got to pick somebody who at least sees a world similar to the one that you see. And of course, at 18 years of age, and I grew up during the hippie generation, and the hippie generation was a very what today would be called leftist. It was Democratic. The Republicans are always considered right. Democrats on the left. And I remember during my hippie days, the Weather Underground and SDS and other truly leftist or even maybe Marxist influenced type of groups started to come into the hippie movement, probably part of CIA infiltration or some other kind of infiltration. Who knows? In those days, it might have even been the KGB. Might have been. And, but anyway, I was raised in that kind of, that academic. I went back when I went to school. You could still earn an academic versus a general diploma, and I was always on an academic course. I was very good in the sciences. I didn't really. I could do basic math. I really didn't like the higher math in those days. That's another thing that's changed. If I were to reapproach algebra and geometry, I think I could find some way to make it interesting, especially since my interest in sacred geometry. Although, of course, but the fact is, all the theorems, nobody, of all the math teachers I have, nobody ever said, if you just memorize these theorems, the rest is nothing. And nobody ever quite gave me the concept, like, I'm a musician. I can dissect so much music because I know music theory. And the theorems of geometry are basically geometry theory. And, but no teacher was ever really wise enough to break down a subject and just say, this is what you need to do this. They might have said it, but they didn't make it sound like, if you would just apply yourself to these theorems, and there aren't all that many of them, the rest of this is just like, oh, that theorem, oh, that theorem. You just throw the theorems at it and you walk right through it. But anyway, the whole leftist thing. And look, when you kind of go back, when you go back to some of the paleo conservatives, and my father was a lifelong Republican. I remember sitting in the living room of his mother's house watching Nixon resign. And I remember sitting there, and my father, I got to give him some props on that one. I was there, clearly not understanding politics at 18 or 19 or 20, whenever it was. Maybe it was even 21 when he resigned. I probably was around 21 because I wouldn't have been with my dad if I was been 18. And because I was living with him briefly in between marriages, or just before him. I think it must have been probably after my first marriage. Anyway, so I'm sitting there and I'm just saying, well, now that he's resigning, I can like him. So I'm quite sure my father was glad to hear that. But I just remember how he never raked me across the coals for supporting somebody who probably from his adult, he was in, let's see, if I was in my 20s, he was in his 40s. So he's 23. He was 23 years older than me. And so he never really gave me any crap, never told me, that, like, oh, your choice is terrible. You have no wisdom. Well, he just, I had my vote. In that way, he was a classic American. If you have a political view to state, go to the voting booth and state it just like you want it. Of course, based on the options you have. Anyway, So anyway, so as I look back, I see a long indoctrination period of what I would call kind of like really a Marxist agenda, which is a socialist agenda at its softest things. And I don't want to get into socialism, communism, but basically at their uber levels, let's take communism and fascism, because supposedly they support, one is left and fascism is uber right. They're both totalitarianism. They're both a form of government, whether it's world or national, that nobody really wants unless you're one of the people at the top. Then you would love that system. But for 99% of the globe, nobody wants to be under a totalitarian system. Communism at its peak, a real, like the kind of like the Soviet communism, that was totalitarianism. Fascism and the New World Order, the globalists are a form of fascism, and I call them fascists rather than communists because it's all about the businesses. But it's not business as usual. It's really, we're basically the nations, the big corporations own the world, and they kind of split up. Oh, okay, you can own that body of water and sell it to that country because we've spoiled all the water and we own all the good water. That's what globalism is. That's totalitarian control. And so what I find really interesting is in many ways, when I was younger and I was on the left, I'm not on the right now, I'm a political atheist, okay? I just like good ideas. This left-right paradigm is why we are in the mess we're in currently. I've said it many times, I consider politics of two different parties in one country to be a form of schizophrenia. When you get into multi-party parliament type things, then you have multiple personality disorder. All right, these are not really good things. I think it's very good for people who rise up, who say, I think I can manage the country. I think I have the zeitgeist of the people. I think I have good management skills. I have good people skills. I like humans. I don't want to rule over them. And so to me, people should just speak their ideas. The only reason we have parties is so there can be corruption. The parties are the main crowbar, the pry bar to be corrupt, because they control who can come up and rise up. And basically, since money runs everything, the people with the deep pockets come in with their wolves. They put on their sheep's clothing. They come in with their donations. And next thing you know, they have input. And then they go, oh, I have another friend who'd love to donate to this cause. And they bring in another. And before you know it, the place is infiltrated. And that's what's happened to the EPA. That's what's happened to almost any bureaucracy. So back to the boiling frogs. The water in the pot of the global people, and for now I'll just speak on a subject I know about, American people. So the water has been rising. That's one metaphor, the boiling frog. If anybody who doesn't know why this is a metaphor, it's scientifically proven. If you take regular room temperature water and you put a frog in it, and frogs like to be in water, it'll just sit there and be glad that it's in a moist environment instead of a dry environment, because an amphibian like a frog will not live long once its skin dries out. And there's another nice frog metaphor, but I would distract myself. Anyway, so if you turn the heat on, that eventually will bring the water to a boil, but don't bring it up too quick, kind of incrementally. The frog will never notice that the temperature is rising, and will stay in that pot until the temperature of the water is actually enough to burst it from from boiling it up. Okay, so in other words, the frog doesn't know that it's in imminent danger, lethal danger, until it's dead. And that's what I see the New World Order has been doing over the past couple of decades. In America, it at least started with the administration of the first Bush, Herbert Walker Bush. Then it continued under President Clinton for 8 years. That's 12 years. So then we passed to Bush the second for another 8 years. That's 20 years. And now we pass to Obama, who continues the agenda, and we have 28 years. We have almost 3 decades of the water coming up on this boiling frog. And now somebody comes along, and that would be Donald Trump, who has seen this and doesn't think it's something that anybody would like. But as an American, he's speaking very strongly that he knows He knows the American people don't like it. And he also knows there are American people who are protesting him and think that they would actually like to see him assassinated, but they don't know that they're in a pot of boiling water. So even though he has their interests in there, they don't understand that he has their interests because they don't know that they are in a pot of water that's almost near boiling. And along comes somebody and says, and turns down the gas. So this is where we also come into what the fake news, let's call it disingenuous, distortion, sometimes fake, sometimes made up. But along with these things, we've had the weaponizing of the media. The New World Order has different branches. Medicine, pharmacology is one of them, the media, and the media doesn't just include newspapers, magazines, and what's on TV. TV is the media, okay? TV is owned by the New World Order and globalists. So the information that comes through there is to minimally entertain you and hopefully constantly be broadcasting the various messages that they want for their New World Order. And a lot of the messaging that comes in via the media, Hollywood, TV programs, is the degradation of our ability to think clearly, the degradation of some kind of basic ethic, moral type of base that at least we can sit around and talk about. And so, I kind of lost my train of thought a little bit here. Fake news. So this weaponized media is part of it. I mean, and they're being inflamed. I mean, again, there are a lot of people who who at a personal level, I mean, a lot of politics, people don't investigate. They look at a person, they listen, they go, I like what they say. I mean, I will very embarrassedly, this is going to be very embarrassing for me to admit publicly. There was a time I liked John McCain. All right. Thought he was kind of funny, kind of, always putting his foot in his mouth, kind of like why I like Joe Biden. I had no idea how dangerous these people were. And at the last Davos, Joe Biden, kind of like at a goodbye thing, was talking to the people at Davos, the globalists, about how Donald Trump was a threat to the liberal world order. That's to make it sound different than a New World Order. It's the same one. Liberal is that kind of reverse speech where what they call liberal is that they got you by the short hairs. And the Donald Trumpism there, and they're just letting you know. Well, at least we didn't cut off your head. The media is weaponized. The TV, all the stuff that is owned by FCC it's weaponized, and I see it now in what to me can only be called the acting out of a psychosis, and that's these non-ending like protests, and also the fact that many of the people who do not like Donald Trump are going to the weaponized media for their facts. This is terrible. I mean, the globalists would like nothing better than for the United States to go into civil war so they can just pick up the pieces. It's a lot easier. It's just really creeping me out how people are reacting, and people who were on the left, and we were the ones who always, the TV, back in those days, the TV was considered right, or conservative. And now it's the liberal media. I mean, it's really a mess. And of course they're gaslighting. And this is where I'm going to bring up Thomas Sheridan. I might do a video just about Thomas Sheridan. But gaslighting is where you kind of create a fake light on a situation, and you kind of use an overbearing will to basically point to a blue rug and say it's green. And when the other person says, no, it's blue, and the other person says, are you calling me a liar? Maybe you should go get an eye test. It's clearly green, as I stated, and not blue, as you stated. And they make you doubt your own sanity. That's gaslighting. That's psychopathic. Psychopathic is a psychosis. And so this psychopathic, psychotic gaslighting and weaponized media is infecting people who are buying it. That's the nature of it. It's a poisoned meal. Consume this and consume the poison there within. So I guess I'm going to kind of close that down right now. I just kind of want to let people know this isn't about politics. This is about the direction that the world is taking. Brexit was the first one. Donald Trump was the second one. I think Marine Le Pen will be the third one, even though they're trying to, obviously, if she wins, they're already making noises that the Russians are involved. I mean, and that's the Russian meme is absolutely insane. And it's so funny that the people on the left seem to be buying all this stuff. Oh, Trump did this with Russia. Flynn did this with Russia. When did Russia? I mean, Russia hasn't been the bad guy since 1991, as far as an official world stage, we're against you kind of people. Maybe even since 1989. So it's all very crazy. And I just thought I'd kind of get this out during a little bit of a Mystic Brew. I hope okay, on another note, that's the end of this. I hope you've all been enjoying the Cosmic Emporiums I've been doing with Geo. And I've kind of been using it as, we're doing them basically weekly. We're going to do one tonight. So it'll actually be 2 Cosmic Emporiums. But we put up one last night. It was just Geo and I, hashing around events. And then we have somebody who's coming on tonight. And I might even have it. Somebody came up with a brilliant thing for it, because we're doing the one truth. And we call it TOT for short. And so we're going to start calling these things Totcasts. And so we have another Totcast coming up that'll be out probably by midnight, because it takes us, we do a pre-show, then we record it. Takes me sometimes 15, 20 minutes to load it into Movie Maker, another almost hour for it to process, and then 3 hours uploading it. I don't have the most robust internet connection. So anyway, I hope you were all enjoying that. I might be popping out some more Mystic Brews, Mystic Stews, Mystic News, who knows? Obviously, I'm always rhyming. It's just part of how I have fun. It's part of my creativity. And if I ever, and I tend to play myself down. In the last Cosmic Emporium, I'm a little more animated. I think that might help, because I've been having a nice, strong, steady subscription rate, but I can't seem to climb. I see other guys, climb a couple of thousand a month, and I'm like, what am I doing wrong? Maybe it's not putting them out daily, but I'm not. Quality matters to me, at least that I think it's quality. Even if you think it's shit, if I think it's quality, I know I'm doing something wrong, but my integrity is intact, and that's what matters. So anyway, I hope to be putting up a little more material. I might even start, like I've already created a little music and a piece for the beginnings of the Cosmic Emporiums. I might work on a few of my own original things for Mystic Brew. Who knows? I might even get different things and different music for Mystic Brew, Mystic Stew, who knows? I have so many creative ideas and so few hours in a day between all things I do, being in global mission of peace, and trying to hold on to my sanity, because I'm not a type A. Anyway, I love you all. Please, if you are moved to, like the video. If you're not subscribed, please subscribe if you'd like to kind of stay in touch with me, ModWiz, also known as Radagast. ModWiz is kind of just a lightweight username. It means modern wizard, but that's like $2,000. I don't want to be. I like to kind of just ModWiz. Yeah, what does that mean, modern wizard? You're a wizard? Yeah. Okay. I mean, again, I'm trying to be a human being, getting some news across to my fellow humans who I love deeply and care about their future. So anyway, God bless you all. Love you all. See you next time. Bye.